Very few things in the world of college football get overreacted to or overemphasized more than media days. But here we are, SEC Media Days 2023 kicked off today. LSU, Texas A&M, and Kentucky went today. You got 3 or 4 teams a day all week for SEC Media Days. Greg Sankey, commissioner of the SEC, went today too. But I want to talk about Texas A&M in this video. But the overreaction. Look, here's the deal. We all know these coaches, they can talk for an hour and not say anything. I don't know why we act surprised about it, but particularly this time of year where it's been basically 7 months since we've had any college football at all, excluding spring practice. So every little thing these coaches do and say is just analyzed, overanalyzed, reacted to, and overreacted to. It reminds me of kind of every Sunday morning during the season when you look back at the games the day before and you just completely overreact. We all do that. But at least you're reacting or reacting to something meaningful during the season. Not the case with SEC Media Days. But I want to talk about Texas A&M and our buddy Jimbo Fisher. Now, there's been a lot made and a lot said about Jimbo Fisher after the absolute failure that was the 2021 season for Texas A&M. I mean, the guy's been at A&M now since, 2018? He's only had a winning record in the SEC once in that time period, if you don't count the COVID year, which, like I've said before, I don't care how mad it makes you, people just don't count. People aren't counting the COVID year. It is what it is. But the guy is, anyway, it's just been a disaster. It hasn't worked. 5-7 last year, 0 10-win seasons. It's just been a complete, utter, and total abysmal failure there for Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. And last year was the icing on the cake with the 5-7 season. Of course, they can't fire him because the buyout is, $1 billion. So they're stuck with him. And the offense has been the problem. And this is something that I don't think enough people understand. But Texas A&M's defense has been good enough to win them a lot of games. And the offense has just let them down. Texas A&M's had a pretty good defense over the last several years under Jimbo Fisher, which is odd because Jimbo Fisher's an offensive guy. But it's been the offense that has held them back. I mean, and last year was just the worst. So, of course, he brings in Bobby Petrino as offensive coordinator. And there's been questions all offseason about how much control Jimbo is actually going to give Bobby Petrino when it comes to running that offense. And these are legitimate questions because that's what Jimbo Fisher is. Without, you don't even hire Jimbo Fisher except for you want Jimbo Fisher's offense. I mean, this is just what he's been known for. This is how he made his name in the world of college football. Now, we can have a separate discussion about whether or not that type of offensive philosophy is outdated and whether or not you can win in a big way with that type of offense. Those are legitimate questions. But anyway, so he brings Bobby Petrino in, and of course everybody's wondering, well, how is this going to work? Is he really going to give up control of the offense? Blah, blah, blah. There's been a handful of times in the last 6 or 7 months since Petrino was hired where Jimbo Fisher has been publicly asked that, and he's always given some sort of non-answer answer, the coach speak deal. And he did it again today at SEC Media Days, but this might be the worst one yet. And I'm going to put the quote up on the screen and read it word for word so I don't get it wrong instead of paraphrasing, because I always get people to, that's not what he said, Woo, taking it out of context, Woo. Here's the quote right here. Okay. I'm not going to get into that. Bobby was hired for a reason. He's a tremendous guy. Hopefully, he'll call plays and have some suggestions. Let's back up to the he's a tremendous guy thing. Look, there's a lot of words and phrases that have been used to describe Bobby Petrino over the years. Never in history has the phrase tremendous guy been one of those terms used to describe Bobby Petrino. Now, you don't have to be a tremendous guy to be a great football coach or offensive coordinator or offensive mind or whatever. You don't necessarily have to be a tremendous guy. So the fact that he's not a tremendous guy is not a shot at his football coaching abilities. But come on, a tremendous guy, that's stretching the bounds of reality there, Jimbo. I don't think anybody would describe Bobby Petrino as a tremendous guy. And again, Doesn't mean he's a bad coach, but come on, tremendous guy. Even if you take the scooter incident away with the fake broke neck and that, even if that never happened, he's still pretty much a douchebag. I mean, that's just what he is. And again, none of that has anything to do with whether or not he's a good football coach or whether or not he'll succeed as an offensive coordinator at Texas A&M. I mean, hell, there's plenty of people that hate my fucking guts. Yet I'm still pretty good at the YouTube thing. So, I mean, you don't have to be a tremendous guy to be good at your job, depending on what your job is. But come on, Jimbo. You can't look a room of reporters straight in the face and describe Bobby Petrino as a tremendous guy. But let's get to the part of the question where he answers the question by not answering it. This is like, what's the saying? It's like a conundrum wrapped up in a riddle, rolled up into an enigma or whatever. What does that even mean? Well, hopefully he'll call some plays and make some suggestions. Hey, I have a suggestion. Let him call the plays and be done with it. I talked about this last week, these government secrets with these coaches. I can understand, I guess, maybe not wanting a team to know who your starting quarterback's going to be heading into a game or something like that. But come on, are we really getting to the point in college football where we're not even willing to disclose who our offensive coordinator is? This is just silly, Jimbo. Let me tell you something right now. Whether or not you disclose who's calling plays, whether you disclose that now or not, it's going to have zero impact on your win-loss record this season, Jimbo. It's not. This is absolutely ridiculous. And all this is doing is feeding into the naysayers, and there are some naysayers out there, and I'm kind of on the fence. I'll give you my perspective on it in a second. But there's a lot of people who think this is smoke and mirrors, that there's just no way Jimbo is going to turn the offense over to Bobby Petrino. There's no way he's actually going to let Bobby Petrino develop the game plan, install the game plan during the week, and then call the plays during the game on Saturday. There are a ton of people who just think that's never going to happen. Then there's another group of people that feel like, well, maybe he'll get a chance to do it, but what happens the first sign of it maybe not working in a game? In other words, what happens if Texas A&M is down 10 points to somebody at halftime early in the season? Who calls the plays in the second half? Does Jimbo let Bobby carry it out? Because the thinking is Jimbo Fisher is kind of coaching for his job this year, and if he feels like with Bobby Petrino calling the plays, it's hindering them offensively, is he going to kind of step in to try to save his own skin? So answering this question this type of way is just fueling the fire on all of that. And again, to me, it's completely pointless. Wouldn't you rather lie? Just say, yeah, we hired Bobby Petrino to be the offensive coordinator. He's the offensive coordinator, and offensive coordinators call plays. Yes. Next question. Of course, he could have done that 6 months ago, but he keeps on with these non-answer answers. And I don't understand the point of it. It seems like or Jimbo is attracting more hate than he otherwise would with just these non-answer, they're circular answers. What does that even mean? Hopefully, he'll call some plays and make some suggestions. It just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. Personally, what do I think's going to happen? I think Bobby Petrino is calling plays. That's what I think's going to happen. I don't think Bobby Petrino would have taken the job without that being granted ahead of time by Fisher, without that being acknowledged, without Jimbo Fisher saying, yes, I'm going to let you call plays. Now, that's at the beginning of the season. The second question, and perhaps the bigger and more important question that we talked about a minute ago about, well, what happens in week 2 or week 4 or week 6 when Texas A&M is losing at halftime and the offense isn't playing well? Does Jimbo, sit Bobby Petrino down in a corner at halftime and tell him to basically stay in the locker room, I'll handle it from here type of deal? If he does that, what does that do to their relationship? What does that do to the locker room going forward? That type of thing. How is he going to handle questions in post-game press conferences related to the offense and play calling specifically, whether or not it's him or Bobby Petrino calling the plays? And what if, when the season starts, we still don't get the answers to these questions? What if Texas A&M comes out in week 1 and beats, the Helen Keller School of the Blind 21-3, and the offense is just kind of plodding along and doesn't do much? And then, the first question in the post-game press conference is going to be, well, Jimbo, who called the plays, you or Bobby? What if he still refuses to answer it? What if he comes out and says, well, we sort of get together on the headset and we come to a decision and blah. In other words, what if he gives another non-answer answer? I just think by dragging this thing on with who's calling plays, I just feel like it's setting up to be overall a negative for Texas A&M in 2023. I just think it would have been better for Jimbo and for Texas A&M in general if the minute he was hired, Jimbo would have came out and said, look, Bobby's going to run the offense. Obviously, I'm going to be in on the meetings. Obviously, I'm going to have input into personnel and game planning and implementing the game plan from week to week. But when the whistle blows on Saturday, Bobby's calling the plays. He's the offensive coordinator. I think that would have been the best case scenario, honestly, for everyone involved here. And for whatever reason, Jimbo's not doing it. Either because he doesn't know yet if he's going to let Bobby Petrino call the plays, or this is one of those smoke and mirror 3-card monte deals where, well, we can't let, we play Miami in week 2. We can't let them know who's going to be calling plays. That's ridiculous. First of all, if you think you need some sort of extra advantage like that to beat Miami, Texas A&M, then you're nowhere near where you want to be as a team or a program. Second of all, that is no advantage. It's fucking just absolutely insane. The idea that, well, we got to keep this a secret. Can't let them know who's calling plays. Anyway, SEC Media Day is underway. There'll be crazy stories and stuff like this to talk about, I'm sure, every day this week as these different coaches come out and talk. They asked Jaden Daniels about getting picked up and ragdolled by Jalen Carter in the SEC championship game. That was funny, too. Shout out to Brian Kelly. 13 years as a Power 5 head coach, 0 major postseason wins. Have a great day.